a warrior, a survivor, and it's all because of God. She's a teacher and a healer, and it's all because of God. She's sassy, full of fire, with a heart that's made of gold. She will help you build your body, and it's so good for your soul.
Hey everybody, welcome to Life Unleashed with TLC, your host Traci Lynn Cowan. This is going to be a fiery one today. I have an incredible guest today, Byron Rodgers. What a man of faith, what a man of honor, servicing and helping people and just top tier executive protection. And I'm excited to announce to you today, he's also served in the Marine Corps as a squad leader, deployed into Iraq. This guy is just top tier himself. So welcome to the show, Byron Rodgers.
Traci, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely.
I'm excited. I mean, this is something I've wanted to have you on the show so we can share with people what you're doing. I mean, you're kind of behind the scenes, but you're on the front line as well. And I know that you're very prominent on social media, and I'm always watching your stuff and making sure that I can, keep my head in the game. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's an honor. It's an honor. It's an honor to see that the things that I've gone through and done by the grace of God be used to serve people, whether it's educationally or on the ground, with the social media content, and in person. Yeah. That's an honor.
Right. So tell me, let's go back a little bit so we can get a better understanding. So obviously serving in the Marine Corps as a squad leader, you were deployed in to Iraqi. Is this where it started for you, or did you always know as a young boy that you were going to serve, lead, and protect people?
Yeah, that's good. For me, it started when I was young. My dad's, a warrior type, lifelong martial artist. I actually ran one of the largest security companies in the Bahamas, which had never really crossed my mind until after I was already running my company. But, so I was raised as a warrior by a warrior. And so growing up, I always kind of was like, well, I'm a Christian guy. So, I was always kind of like, how's this going to be a good thing? Because a lot of what I met in church was just not warrior stuff, right? So God was always really faithful to give me a mission, and whether it was defending some kid on the playground or even in football, and then eventually, it got into the Marine Corps, which gave me a great place of expression and training to really hone those skills and then put them to use in, a real battlefield environment and to be tested and proven by the grace of God,
Right. So obviously you're taking quite a few life experiences coming from a battleground like that, being in Iraq. And were there some things that you brought to the table that you teach people now? I mean, that you've seen where maybe it was, a situation where you have this like experience, but it's also detrimental. Like you've had any PTSD, anything like that coming out of there?
So even today, I actually went to a radiology appointment, not radiology, but they were checking my ears with the VA today, okay. And they were doing the whole thing, and they get done, and the sweet lady looks at me and she's like, someone with your level of like hearing damage, we would send to a what'd she say? We would send you to like a CAT scan directly after the appointment. Like, do you understand like what happened? Like, do you know why this exists, or is there something happening, in your brain that you're not aware of? And I was just kind of like, now of course I'm calm because I had a brain scan like a few months ago, and they were like, man, your brain is so strong given the amount of trauma you've taken. They're like, we really need to study you to learn how to help veterans, right? But so I was just kind of like, well, I just explained to her, I've been through 6 blasts, 5 of them were IEDs on vehicles. Improvised explosive devices, bombs that exploded in, around, or on the vehicle that I was inside of. One of them was a mortar that landed, really close to me and launched me, 20 some feet. But I also was a small gunner. So I got the honor of actually being in combat And there's a lot that transitions over. I think my time in the Marine Corps is the best education I've ever gotten, really. Not just for the
Yeah.
Marine Corps for what it is and what it teaches a young man, but
Right.
leading men in such a pressure cooker, So, a young Marine, comes up to me. We're in combat. He's scared. He's one of my guys. I was a squad leader. So he's like, you know, uh, Corporal, I was thinking about what I'm gonna do if we get blown up, if we get hit by an IED, and I'm like,
Oh,
buddy, we're gonna get blown up. Like we're for sure gonna get blown up. We're at an AO with 80% victim initiated IEDs. We're lead vehicle. It's just a matter of time. So think about what you're gonna do when we get blown up. If you're still alive, that way, when it happens, you go
wow.
into action rather than shock, right? And it's a lesson that I try to teach civilians all the time, which is thinking
Hmm.
through the equation before you get there, get the mental reps. And when you have a plan, it gives you peace. People are always like, oh, well, you're just paranoid. I'm like, no, I'm not paranoid. Actually, I feel quite prepared. I'm calm. And when things have happened
Right.
in the room that I'm in, I've done mental reps. And so I just begin executing my plan. And I'm that many steps ahead of the civilian public who's sitting there being like, what's going on? I can't believe this is going on. Why me? They have all this
Hmm.
cognitive dissonance, but I've been living here. So, like,
Right.
I was expecting it. So, what happened? We got blown up. And he comes running up after to me afterwards, after we make sure everyone's fine, and he's like, Corporal, I did exactly what I thought it was what I was rehearsing to do. Like, thank you so much, and I'm like, this is the game, this is the way, young man. So those are the types of things. So
Love
much of
that.
personal self-defense, personal protection is mental. Um, it's a lot that came out of those
Yeah.
experiences.
100%. I love that you shared that with him. And where do you think you got that? Not only the mental reps, but where did you get that calmness about you where you knew you had to take that step back and just like really be so calm? Obviously, that put you in as a squad leader and as a leader in what you're doing now as well.
Yeah.
Where do you get that calmness from?
Uh, for sure, without question, it's the grace of God. It's just God in my life.
Hmm.
Because in my childhood, my dad was always busy. He was in the Bahamas. I was raised in Washington State. So
Hmm.
I had to deal with a lot of chaos. So I had to deal with chaos at
Yeah.
home. With my mom just being emotional, so it's like 1 minute things are going everywhere. And for me, that was like very
Right.
destabilizing. And I had to deal with, chaos being the only Bahamian, the only black kid, the only whatever. Go to the Bahamas, you're the
Mm.
only American now. Oh, let's fight the American because the American kid's soft. So I was like constantly dealing with things that would have been that were kind of scary to me growing up and constantly getting proven, but constantly just the thing my mom did awesome. She did a great job, but she pointed me to
Mhm.
God. She was just like, the Holy Spirit is going to be your father. You look to him for help. And so for me, my victories
Mm.
were never about how cool I was or how tough I was. It was always just like, I always just was like, Dad, I was just like, Father, give me the strength, give me the peace, give me the wisdom, give me the grace. I don't know what I'm going to eat for lunch. Could you help me with lunch today? And that's how I would live my
Wow.
life. So then when I get into combat, and everyone's like, we could die. And I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, yes, we can. But if we live, like I
With
have
a
I have a
smile on his
rock,
face.
like I have my heavenly father who I know is gonna help us. He's helped me my whole life, and so what that
Yeah.
gave me a stability for myself personally first and foremost. And then that was able to translate into my teams during our darkest hours on many occasions. And it's still
Right.
where I my source of power because God loves you, so He's going to be working on making you better in every single area and time and season. You don't have to go to war for this. You're already in a war, really. So as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, when it's like, okay, payroll's coming up, or okay, this employee is coming after me for something, or through the
Right.
betrayals in life and all the things that humans do to each other, knowing that I've always had that heavenly Father looking over me has given me a peace that passes all understanding as we've had to navigate, this
Mhm.
battlefield.
Oh, amen. That's so beautiful. I love that. Yeah, having that faith and just protects us in all our situations. And let's go into the executive protection. So came out of the Marine Corps, and then you opened up your own top tier executive team. And is it still, you've been running, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, quite a few
Yeah.
decades now too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your executive protection company and what you guys are up to right now.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot going on in the
It's quite a
world.
bit going on. Yeah. So whenever anything happens, whether it's the United Healthcare assassination or the fires that just ravaged California a few months ago, we get a massive spike. And like I said, it's an honor to
Yeah.
bring order to people's lives during their darkest hours or when they're concerned. I got into this industry. I mean, it's just, it's the grace of God. I was a 21-year-old kid getting out of the Marine Corps, scared, didn't know what to do, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I just hit my knees, and the same thing as always. I was praying, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I heard, my Heavenly Father said, go to Hennessy's Tavern, become a bouncer, you'll become a bodyguard, you'll travel the world. So this is the story. I wish
That's
I
how it
wish the story
happened.
was because I was so cool, or I had like the coolest. I was the most jacked guy. I had the best tattoos. I had like war trophies. No, it's not. That's not the story. And then I went over there and I started being a bouncer, and a random, not so random guy said, "Hey, basically, get over here. Go get these 2 licenses that I'm telling you to get, and I'll show you how to make a lot more money doing what you're doing." I went and I
Hmm.
listened to him. I was 21 years old. This was 2008. And I got recruited onto the largest international executive protection detail out of Southern California. We started hitting 50, 60 countries per year. We traveled more than the president and the Secret Service most of those years. And so I grew up in the industry in dog years. And so, most guys say, like, I do executive protection. It's like, you're like a musician that plays music at your local bar
In
on
a lounge.
Thursdays. Yeah, like, but I grew up, 50, 60 countries a year, like for 7 years straight. And then I wanted to live a quasi normal life. So I started doing domestic security contracting, which is like getting on
Hmm.
rosters for, 7 executive protection companies at a time. And they would just send me
Yeah.
tasks, and I would just say yes or no and build out my schedule. And so then I got to work every client demographic in the industry. I did that till about 2017, and then I had a ultra high net worth client, billionaire client, that said basically, like, Byron, we've had issues with a number of vendors. We like you. We're going to, and there's another one of those, like, by the grace of God, we're going to put you in business. Here is an executive
Yeah.
protection company. We're going to pay for the whole thing, um, and you're our guy. And so that was the birth of my executive protection company, Bravo Research Group. And since then, my claim to fame now is that we can drop a team anywhere in the world within 24 to 48 hours. We do fulfillment for a
Wow.
lot of larger companies that you guys may know of. Like, we're the guys on the ground executing on a lot of that. We have a suite of
Hmm.
our own clients around Southern California, Texas, on the East Coast, DC, New York. Um, and it's just really been an honor. So whether it's schools, churches, infrastructure security, we have a
Hmm.
uniform division. It's not your lower level uniform division, though. It's a high end solution. And then we have our executive protection
Yeah.
guys. And then I have one of the top training schools in the world as well for executive protection. So guys transitioning out of the military from law enforcement,
Yeah.
or even civilians, we run them through a 7 to 20 day pipeline supported by about 70 hours of online content. And we build these guys out. Whereas a lot of security companies, just based on your background, they're like, oh, you used to be a whatever 5, 10 years ago in the military, Navy SEAL or whatever. They just
Yeah.
hire them. We actually get to build out our manpower. And so that, along with having probably one of the largest digital brands in the industry, because I started the first podcast in the space, um, and then
Yeah.
being a knight of Malta, where they're operational in 120 countries doing humanitarian work, gives me a massive international networking capability by the grace of God, that we've been stewarding and really solving a lot of security equations around the world.
Yeah, you definitely are. That is incredible. So impressive. Tell me what it looks like that 7 to 20 days, because
Yeah.
that excites me, and I'm not sure if everyone else gets excited
Yeah.
about it as much as I do. And would do you have any female executive protection officers on your team?
Okay, so yeah, of course, female EP agents
Okay.
come into the game, and sometimes it'll take them a little bit longer to gain traction. But once the
Hmm.
industry knows they're good and they're professional, they go straight to the top because there's like no competition. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to cut your
All
teeth for a
right.
little bit, but you're not competing with everyone else in the industry. Whereas the boys, we're all competing against each other for position all the time. So
Yeah.
once there's, at any given time, there's only really a handful of solid females handling biz in the game. So it's the industry's exploding, the opportunities are exploding, the compensation's exploding. The client demographics are
Yeah.
changing and shifting, which is really cool because there are a lot of like really good people we're finding ourselves protecting now. A lot of even
Hmm.
doctors that are on the right side of things, lawyers that are on the right side of things. Um, in
Yeah.
terms of just being countercultural in some ways, which I personally really appreciate. And
Hmm.
even politicians, that are on, I will say, the right side of things, that are a little countercultural, that
Hmm.
have elevated risk profiles, right? People in the medical industry that shouldn't have problems, they have protection details nowadays. So it's very
Yeah.
interesting. And in terms of the training and the way that looks is 20-day pipeline broken up into two segments, three segments. You've got your soft skills, right? This
Okay.
is operational knowledge, social dynamics, interfacing with the teams, all those different things. So we have 70 hours to teach you all of your executive protection knowledge online. Then you show up, you go into the immersion course, which is executive protection immersive training. We do it out here in LA. You're going to run for 7 days a battery of executive protection details to make sure that you've really integrated all the stuff that we sent you online and understand how to do EPR way, which is highly experiential, and that's a massive differentiator. So a lot of the Ivy League schools or top tier schools in the game are very PowerPoint heavy, presentation heavy, sit in a ballroom and talk about it heavy.
Hmm.
Maybe one EP detail at the end where we're going to have you run a battery of details. We're going to high risk detail, surveillance detail, two-man detail, one-man detail. So we're going to run you through a battery. So I know I can vouch for you because you're going to be able to put me down as a professional contact because I will have built you. So we're out there running details.
Right.
Then we take one day, we motorcade down to Arizona where we do the hard skills intensive, which is three core competencies of an executive protection agent with regards to hard skills, which is driving, shooting, and medical. We plus you up on medical certifications, TECC, first aid, AED. And when we do medical, it's not like you're just chilling doing medical. No, you're out in the desert. There's
Yeah.
blood, there's pressure, there's sweat. It's. I had a guy walk into our medical training, when we are kicking it off, and he's like, "Are we still training? Did something happen? Like it's realistic." Um,
I love
yeah, and
it.
then we get into driving. We have the highest level of driving training
Yeah.
in the industry. So we have cage cars, bar cars. So you will actually make contact. We'll teach you how to pit, how to counter pit. I'll run you off the road. You'll knock me off the road. How to car fight, protective driving, but it's car fighting. And then we get into firearms, and we'll run at least 1,000 rounds through you under our supervision and teach you all the attack on principle protocols and postures and how to protect a human while using your firearm. Which I think the interesting thing about our training, and we also offer civilian courses as well. But what's interesting about the executive protection school is these are the same tactics you would use to protect your family. So we have
Yeah.
dads that come that are like, I just want to know how the professionals do it. We have people that are civilians that are like, I just want to get this training because we're civilians that protect civilians. And so, if you have a family, you got the
Yeah.
time and the resources, come train, let's go.
Yeah, I think that's so important. That's such a great and extensive course. And I think it's so important for people to come and protect their families, learn how to do this. Because with home invasions and all the things that are going on in this world right now, I mean, how many people have a game plan? I mean, I've just asked people, what's your game plan if anything ever happened? If someone kicked in the front door, came in the back door, and they're like, I don't know. And it's like, to have that plan is so important for everybody. What do you love the most about executive protection?
I just honestly, I wish there was like a better answer, but really, I just love the fact that it's so organic. Like it's such a good use of who God's
Mhm.
created me to be. And I feel so blessed that I've been able to join forces with so many awesome guys and girls out there who are like,
Yeah.
because I have a saying, I say protector by nature and by trade. Another one of our sayings is protection's more than just a job, it's a lifestyle, right? And so it's just such an honor to
Yeah.
do work with people that are like, I used to work at Starbucks or a bank or something, and I just was bored and miserable, and I wanted more. And when I heard you talk about
Yeah.
protection's more than just a job, it's a lifestyle, and I thought about how I am with my family or my friends. I'm the protector in the group. And I realized I could like get training and actually like make a great living, make good money. AI is not replacing us anytime soon. Like they're like
Right.
they're just yeah, right,
Hopefully not.
yeah. But they're just so blessed, to be able to have an opportunity to do that. And so when there's a CEO that's under threat and we drop a team on them, or I show up on the scene, and it's like I've been training my entire life to be the most effective protector that I can be in terms of what I can do to save life or extinguish a threat with the perfect amount of force.
Mhm.
And I get to bring all that to bear in alignment with a righteous mission.
Mhm.
It just fits. It's just so good, and the bad guys are
I
watching
love
us and
it.
their hearts, they're just melting because they're like, golly, like these guys seem like they're true believers, like they're the real deal, like that's what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you light up when you're talking about it. And then, so what about the portion of learning how to shoot guns
Yeah.
and things like that? Because I know a lot of people get intimidated by that
Yeah.
portion of it, and just learning how important do you think it is for people to have that skill of learning how to shoot and protect, their families and their friends and loved ones
I
as well?
think it is one of the most important underappreciated skills. I want to go to a
Yeah.
time where evil is fearful of good. Like evil's just kind of like running around right now doing whatever
Mm.
it wants to people because the public has largely been educated out of being able to protect themselves. I was going to drop a video the other day where people are like, yelling at the cops about, how they need to make the city safer. And I'm kind of like, you're talking about law enforcement. You're law enforcement professionals. The answer's in the title. Okay, they're here to enforce laws, but what does that mean? A law's got to be broken. There's got to be a
Yeah.
victim. There's got to be a perpetrator. By the time all that happens, you and your family are not in the place you want to be in, and so um, what I
Right.
try to help people understand is police officers are not your personal protection detail. They're not there to necessarily protect you. They're there to enforce the law. If someone's breaking the law, they probably need to
Yes.
investigate and then they need to react. They're not actually the first line of defense for you. You are the first line of defense for you. It's math, and any realistic thinker understands that, if they're out for a walk late at night or whatever it is. So that understanding is the foundation of reality. But we've done such a good job protecting people that we don't always realize that. And a firearm is the number one and only absolute. It makes it evens the playing field. I don't care if you're geriatrics, if you got arthritis, if you're a 110-pound female, if you're a
Right.
16-year-old boy who learned how to shoot your daddy's hunting rifle. When a bad guy comes in the
Yeah.
house, or even younger in some cases, in some real world cases, when a bad guy comes in the house or tries to victimize you and your family, you can utilize a firearm and you can now have a say on what happens in that environment. It's the most empowering thing that I think exists. It's the number one equalizer. I've had protection dogs. I've trained with blades. I've done all the things, and there's nothing that can do that, a force multiplier like a firearm. And a lot of people have understandable
Right.
fear around it. I get that, and it's logical and it's understandable and it's kind of good. I want you to be a little bit afraid of a firearm. I want you to, because when you don't respect it, that's when you get bit. It's like riding a motorcycle. Like, it's when you
Right.
don't respect what the thing can do is when you end up, throwing yourself off into the guardrail on the freeway. So, but a healthy
Yeah.
respect and then competence breeds confidence. And so through training and
Hmm.
experience, you become one and you become intimate with this thing, this firearm, and you really start to understand it. And then you're empowered to a level you could never be without it. And so I believe females and the elderly, the more vulnerable demographics of our society should be the most highly trained demographics of our society. Because no one's hunting me at 250 pounds of tattooed Marine, generally, unless I'm working, but, women and children at the house,
Yeah, true.
your daughter, when she goes from her work, her college dorm to her car or work to wherever, you know, that's where the enemy likes to strike.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Because I know so many people too, when I've done my self defense classes and protection classes, and I have a lot of females coming in there, even guys, and they're like, "Hey, I don't want to shoot a firearm." And I was like, "Well, what's your other option? What's your best line of defense in this situation? Are you going to do hand to hand combat when a guy comes in with a rifle?" Or so let's go into, so what are your training tactics with so martial arts, doing teaching self defense, hand to hand combat? Is that all part of your courses as
Well,
well?
and real quick on the hand to hand combat thing, like, you got to understand people. You're going to work trying to live your
Yep.
life. You're being a normal person. You're going to your
Yep.
kids' soccer games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you have time
Yep.
to learn a whole martial art. Should you? Yeah, absolutely. It'll make you awesome. You get
Right.
discipline out of it. You get a skill set. You get wisdom. There's a lot that you get from learning a martial art. But
Yep.
realistically, that guy that's going to jump you or the six guys that'll do the home invasion, they're out there right now doing dirty deeds
Right.
for cheap. They're in juvie right now. They're in jail. They're fighting to the
Hmm.
death. They're out there doing that. That's their life generally. They were probably abused from a
Yeah.
young age. They've been fighting in bad neighborhoods since, so they're way more acquainted with violence. So for
Yep.
which is why I like the handgun. So for our,
Yes. And that's why I
yeah,
like to reinforce it too, because so many people are so scared
hmm
of the firearms. And so that's why I love that you're sharing
yeah,
this with
and
people.
it's definitely one of those things where it's like, you know, when it comes to getting that close and making physical contact, like, you should be a physical person and you
Yeah.
should have those capabilities. Um, but if you can learn the handgun, like, you solve a lot of problems, and it doesn't matter your physical potency.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest things I see come out of self-defense classes is a false confidence of like, well, I know whatever I know, and I can like handle
100%.
people, and it's like, can you? Like, the most realistic martial artists I
No.
know, they're like, for every 20 pounds a dude has on another
No.
man, that's a belt. That's a whole belt. And it's like, I've been to a lot of
Yeah.
gyms, so it's just kind of like, I'm not saying that your Krav or your MMA or your Jiu Jitsu or your Muay Thai is bad. I'm saying get it in if
Right.
you can get it in. But if I was going to tell
Yeah. That's just a
Exactly.
bonus,
But if
right?
I was going to tell you where to start, I would
Yeah.
say start with force multipliers. I'd say
Okay.
start with learning,
Yeah.
master a firearm, and get a CCW if you're in America, or at least the parts of America that are still America. And then
Right.
go to blades, right? Because you have proximity weapons. You start out with a weapon that requires a little bit of space, like a firearm. It's going to be your most powerful one. Then go into a blade, which for women especially, blades are very effective. But if you can keep the guy
Hmm.
at arm's distance away from you, then that's way better than having to use a blade because of the strength differential and the disparity of force. And then you get into blades,
Okay.
and blades are good because men generally, we don't see women as a threat, so we pull you in close, and this is exactly where you want to be to pull your blade, drop it in his groin, and drop your weight or whatever it is. Um, and so
Yeah.
blades have protected women since, I mean, for hundreds of years, since, the geishas were running around with blades. Like, that's been a thing for a long time.
Right.
And then as a last resort, you should be a physical, fit human being who has a martial art under your belt. I don't particularly advocate too much for
Right.
martial arts. I say the one that you're good at. I don't like have like a favorite that I'd be like, this is the end all be all. I'll tell you what I like about them. The
Yeah.
Krav, I love
Okay.
the principle of Krav, that is, achieve the highest level of violence you possibly can as quick as possible. This is a universal principle of
Yeah.
combat. The enemy will identify you as not a
Hmm.
good victim and generally leave. They'll be like, ah,
Right.
there's a lot of great victims out there. This was the wrong one. So being extremely violent, extremely quick, is
Hmm.
complicates things for the enemy. That's great. Um, and then going into like your striking, your boxing, your Muay Thai. These are great. They're awesome. But being
Okay.
able to generate enough power to knock a grown man out, like some of these new hipster dudes, a lot easier. But like a dude born
Yeah.
like from the '90s, about the '90s up, like
Right.
down, like you might have some more. If he was drinking out the
Yeah.
fire hose,
You
yeah,
do
if he was
not want to
drinking
play
out the
with
fire
that.
hose as a boy, you might have to watch out. Um, so that's
Right.
a consideration on personal protections about the person. Self
Yeah.
defense is about the self. That might be great for me and not as good for someone who's 100, anything from about 180 pounds down, maybe, right? But if you're really good at it and you've
Yeah.
been generating knockout power for years, even if you're female, maybe it can work. And then jujitsu is great because you can use your legs and you can tie people up. I think it's great for
Yeah.
females, but like, do you want to have your whole arsenal of tools on the ground? Maybe, maybe not, right? Consideration.
No.
So it'll be harder to take you down, but
Right.
also, like, I've had guys that were not as strong as me try to use a lot of that on me outside of a jujitsu environment, and I just, picked the dude up and banged him on the heater in the room until he fell off multiple times. It was like an
You're like,
arm
that'll
bar. Is
do
this an
it.
arm bar? This dude's only about, and it wasn't good for him. So
That's
considerations,
hilarious.
you know.
Okay. I had a visual
Yeah.
on that one. That was good.
Mm-mm.
I love that you're sharing all these things because, again, there's that false like confidence that you were talking about too, and I see it all the time,
Yeah.
and I hear it all the time, and I'm pretty sure I've fallen into that category at once or twice into my life. And I how hard is it to get a CCW? Because I know a lot of different states that you're in. It's hard for people to get it, so it kind of hinders people from wanting to go out there and try to get it. So I just want to talk about that a little bit so we can just kind of open that up to give
Yeah.
people some more
No,
ideas on
100%.
it.
Um, so in California, it's gotten remarkably much more easy. LA is even open to
Yeah.
CCWs, which they haven't been for my whole life, but now LA is issuing them. So it's a lot easier. What the process looks like is you hop online, you go to your county's sheriff's office. You're going to find the page that issues CCWs. It's going to give you a protocol. You apply and you get your date for your interview, but they're going to give you a protocol of things that
Okay.
you need. Some people wait until they go to that interview and then and knock out all the
Yep.
things. Don't do it that way. Knock out all the things, get your fingerprint, go to your
Okay.
CCW rules course, orientation course with a local approved vendor. Go to get your weapons approved by the trainer or the weaponsmith or whatever they have. They're going to
Hmm.
have a protocol. Get it all done. Get your letters of recommendation and all those different things.
Okay.
Uh, Hold on one second. My son's ambushing me. He can open the door now. 1 second.
Ambushing. Hey, kids call, right? So, you guys, I'm asking all the questions that I usually get asked in everyday life because a lot of people don't know how to get a CCW and how important it is, and how important it is having that gun safety and gun protection. Because honestly, I used to be intimidated by it and so fearful of guns for so long, and now I've learned, that that's not the case. So, did you get to how old's your son? Can you hear us okay? All right, Byron's back. We're
Bam.
just
How
waiting for
about
the
now?
sound. There he
Okay.
is. And
Yeah,
bam. How old's your
he's
kid?
two.
How old's your son?
So he's opening
Oh,
doors
two?
now and all that goodness. God bless him.
Oh my gosh. You're like, wait,
Yeah,
stand
you know.
back. Well, I'm glad we could talk about the CCW and everything because that, again, is super important because people don't follow the protocol and then they're like, just let it kind of
Yeah.
slide and they don't do it. And then they're like, oh, it's too
Mhm.
much of a hassle. But I mean, your life is not worth, it's
100%.
worth the hassle. Go out and do it. Definitely, especially women too, not being fearful. I have a friend that has some young boys. How young, how old can they be to go into executive protection or do training with you? How young
Yeah,
can they be?
and then real quick on the CCW thing, what I would say too is California is very
Hmm.
strict, New York, different places like that. But all the other places that are still like America, you just can go on ahead and just go apply for your CCW and they will give it to you. Some of those places don't even require it. Ask
Yeah, right.
ChatGPT what the requirements are and how to get a CCW, and it'll give you the protocol. But it's very
Okay,
easy if you get, especially you can get
great.
Florida, Nevada, and one other. One,
Was
I
it
think it's Arizona.
Arizona or no?
And you
Yeah.
don't have to live in those states. And then you can carry in all of the Marion states. It's like 30 of our states that are
Okay.
all like, they have reciprocity, and you're good for most of the US. So
Okay.
considerations around that. You can do that by mail. So like find a provider, go to your gun shop, ask them about it. Don't believe half the things they tell you in a gun shop, but
Beautiful.
get the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, this is your guys are learning from the best. Byron Rodgers here. I mean,
Well,
top
thank you.
security. So this is exciting. And yeah, so obviously, if you want to put these kids into
Yeah.
like the Marines or you want to send them to, we don't, how can we get our young boys or even, our children into the level of discipline and getting them into something like executive
Yeah.
protection or
That's a really
security?
good question. I've heard of some like training camps and brands that focus on the youth, which is really, really cool. I think the
Yeah.
best thing to do is to learn the competence yourself, like get competent yourself and then train them. Honestly, the
Yeah.
way you pass down any skill that you should as a parent, because you're gonna know your
Right.
child and when they're responsible enough. Um, and it also is an opportunity to be an exercise in teaching them to be responsible and taking them to the range, and that can be difficult. I would say too, what I
Yeah.
did, with my wife is I have a trainer, Fabio Spinella, who does. He runs My Own Defender, and he was running a 6 month cohort where you train once one Saturday per month, but he sends you homework digitally, and so being that husbands training wives and vice versa could be a friction point. This is a cheat code. Go to
Yeah.
a third party and you guys get your skills up together. Me being a competitive shooter and being pretty good, I still went through the training, still learned a lot, and turned it into kind of like a date, like an excuse for us to go out and do something together. And
Yeah.
and
Fun.
because the main thing you want to do is get that confidence that comes from experience into these people that you love so that they can protect themselves. So, you know, yeah,
Yeah, and you can pass that down.
100%.
Very important. How important is discipline? Do you characterize discipline for you? Because obviously it is key in your life. You can tell just by you've created a lifestyle, not only in the
Thank you.
fitness industry, in the executive protection, and just overall health. I know that's big word for you. So break it down for me in your opinion,
Yeah,
please.
I think discipline is a massive differentiator. It's a massive thing that's going to set you
Hmm.
apart. It's a massive thing that's going to, they say discipline equals freedom. Jocko says that, and I think it's 100% true. If you
Yeah.
want dominion over something, you've got to exercise discipline. It's the thing that turns the tide. But what I would also say about discipline is, um, it doesn't last, right? So the things that you were
Hmm.
once disciplined about, if they were the right things and they were fruitful, generally, once you see how fruitful they are, you become motivated. So it's like now, if I don't go to the gym for, a couple of days, I'm kind of like, I like my motivation goes through the roof, and I'm like, geez,
Yeah.
like come on. Now if I don't go to the range for too long, I'm losing my mind. Now if I don't, like I get uncomfortable even thinking about it, so it's like, so the discipline.
He's
Yeah.
all like moving around. He's like,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah,
I
the
feel
discipline
you.
is there to get you from one state to the next state, one habit to the next habit. And so when you see something like a fruit that you want in your life, whether it's fitness or a high level of competence with something
Yeah.
or a relational goal, even, you take a look at that discipline and you set it and you're like, listen, I'm going to go hard on this for whatever it is. I want to learn to use a firearm. I'm going to hire a trainer for the next 90 days and I'm going to go once a week for the next 90
Yeah.
days, and then I'll check back in with myself, right? Like I want to get fit. Like I'm going to be a monk for the next 90 days, count my macros, eat, my exclusionary diet, whatever I pick, fasting, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it. And I pick a sprint, a long sprint, and check back in with yourself, because discipline's how you elevate. It's how you go from one state to the next state. And then you will then, what happens is, once you've done that enough, once you've done the discipline, you start showing up a month and a half, and you're like, wow, like that's like a line right there. I got like a thing going, and then you start,
I
and then it
love
takes on a
that.
life of its own. And now you see the fruit of that.
Yeah.
And then you don't really need discipline anymore. It's like, I want to see how deep I want to see how high I can fly and how deep this rabbit hole can go. And now the metamorphosis has begun. Now it takes on a life of its own. You start getting motivated because you see the fruit of it. We're pretty simple creatures, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Amen. And leading by example too. Obviously, you are a huge
Well,
example
thank
of
you.
that. And I know a lot of people look up to you as
Thank
well
you.
as myself. And, I've seen all of your work and just, your videos, and you're inspiring. How do you find the balance between personal life and your business
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
life?
So I say that,
That's a
yeah,
tough one, right?
I don't really like this word balance very much, because I think it causes people to go not as hard as they should. So like the areas in my life where I've had
Okay.
massive results are the areas that I've been willing to kill the current version of myself. So it's always like I go all in. However, that's tempered with the reality that I have like pretty hard line boundaries, and I have
Hmm.
desired outcomes, right? So, I will go all in
Right.
on whatever it takes to achieve this in business or to get this event going. Da, 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 da. But I'm not going to turn into my father, who, my daughter, just last month was like, "Is your daddy still alive?" And I'm like, "Yeah, baby, he's alive." And she's like, "But I haven't where?" And I'm
Aw.
like, "He's just busy now." And I hear myself telling her the same thing I had to tell myself my whole childhood. So like, when it comes to
Aw.
work, I'm willing to die as many deaths as I need to in order to become who I was created to be when it comes to any of the results. And that always requires
Yeah.
a lot more than I ever thought it would. It always requires more than I thought it would. There's
Yeah.
always a moment where you're like, man, I just want to go after this goal. And then since you're on the outside looking in, you know nothing about what it's really going to take to achieve that goal. And then you start finding your way and you get kind of inside the
Mm.
door and you look around and you're like, oh my gosh. And you realize how much you have to do. And this is the soul crushing moment where it's like, now we find out if you really want this thing, and then, but at the same time,
Right.
at about 5 o'clock, uh, most nights of the week, I'm going to stop working and I'm going to go be with my family. And I'm just as serious about that.
Yeah.
And I'll be with them from about 5 to 7, and then maybe I'll work a little bit more into the night. But I got 2 hours for them. We got to go feed the
Yeah.
chickens. I'm going to feed the chickens for 2 hours. So about 2 hours a day. I sleep from 11 to 4, and about 2 hours every single day. I make sure that I'm present with my family, as present as it can be. And so for me,
That's
yeah,
great.
it's like not about balance, but it's about really having strong boundaries and priorities and maintaining those things. What do you
Good.
want to water in a 24-hour period? And I break a lot of it up into a 24-hour period. What protocols, what verticals? Protocol
Right.
1, spiritual. Protocol 2, physical. Protocol 3, the soul realm, the mind, will, and emotions. Protocol 4 is
Hmm.
mission. What your purpose is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you because I love that. Obviously, you have to be structured and have a regimen. So, if you want to share a quick glimpse of your regimen on a
Yeah.
daily basis, so I'm hearing 11 to 4. So, 4 a.m. You're part of the
Yeah,
4 a.m. wake
absolutely.
up
For
crew.
years. And that came out of
Yeah, I
that
love
same
it.
moment I was telling you about where I'm like, I want to become an entrepreneur or whatever. And then I'm like working and I'm like, I'm not getting enough done during the day, because like I'm not really as smart as a lot of you guys.
Right.
So like I got to work really hard to focus. Like reading things is slow. Like I had to really work through like the ADD, the different things, TBIs, multiple TBIs. Like I still to this day I like
Yeah.
watch, normal people just like read the captions at the bottom of the screen during the movie and they like get to read all of it and I have to like use my like dyslexic superpowers to like intuit what's being said because I can't read that fast. Yeah,
I'm laughing
yeah,
because I get it. I was like, oh, yeah, traumatic brain injury. Everyone's like, you look good though. And
Thank
I'm
you.
like, yeah, but my brain was a little
Yeah.
scrambled in a car accident.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's all
all.
I can
Yeah,
tell
no,
you.
100%. And we just have to work with these things. Like none of them are an excuse. So, you know, um, but and on a daily basis, um, I wake up at 4 a.m. From about 4
Okay.
to 5:30, I'm listening to a podcast, a sermon, um, uh, on like,
Beautiful.
4 times speed, 2 to 4 times speed, because since I don't read fast, I've been listening to audiobooks for the last probably
Right.
like 300 some odd audiobooks. So I'm always listening. My auditory ability to understand is
Okay.
like up there because everything I make my computer read everything. I do all that type of stuff. So I'm listening to
Right.
trying to get revelation from other people that have gone deeper and farther and have already done their homework on getting that revelation. So I'm like cheating off all these guys' notes, in their pot.
That's the way
100%.
to do it. So, who are your top two
Yeah.
audios, like mentors that you're listening to that we can hopefully be
Yeah,
mentored
I
by
would
as
say
well?
right now, and for a long time, Ron Carpenter was my guy. So he's a pastor who I listen to,
Okay.
for a long time. And then the podcast that's at the top of the hill right now is the Deep End podcast. That podcast is awesome. I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah.
So that happens, and
Yeah.
then the last half of that, the last 30 to 45 minutes. Now, while that's happening, I'm taking my supplements. I'm, getting ready for the gym. I'm putting my clothes on, getting ready to do all my stuff,
Yeah.
and then I go into my quiet time protocol one, which is spiritual development. And so I'm on my knees. I'm praying. I'm worshiping. I'm asking God for guidance. I'm declaring things over my family. I'm
Mm-mm.
prophesying things over my family, and dispatching and deploying angels, attacking anything that I see in my life that needs to be attacked by prayer, right? And then we go into protocol. We go
Right.
into the physical, right? So now I'm going straight to the gym, and the gym often is a continuation of that time with God. So I'm lifting weights, and so
Okay.
and now what's really interesting is now I'm like, for the last year or so, like I can't really listen to secular music much anymore. So like it's hard for me. So like I'll hear what they're talking about or whatever, the frequency of it, and I'm just like, so I'm listening to like either my soundtracks with no words. I'm listening to, worship music. Um, and I'm spending more time with God while I work out. I thank God for the strength that He's given me before every rep. I'm like, thank you for this. I'm going to be a good steward with this right now. To him who has more will be given, and to him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. Let's get these reps. And so that's me and God. Like we're
Mm.
working out together. We're in battle postures. I'm getting visions of what He wants me to create, where He wants me to go. I'm kind of continuing my time with Him.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm on my way back home. That's usually when I'll go live on the way back from the gym. Now, spiritually, I'm fortified. My cup's full. I'm alive. And physically, I'm
Yeah.
ignited. All the positive endorphins are flowing. I've just, proven to I know
Yeah.
how strong I am on that day. You know what I mean? The arrogance is flushed out. 315 was 315 every single time. It's just who Byron is on any given day of the week, right? So now I'm on my way into like the real battle, which is the fluid part of the day. Usually I'll go live on the way back from the gym, and I look at it as a way of like, I'm giving right now. I'm planting seeds. I'm contributing to this platform. I'm making a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
I get home and then, I get my protein shake, or if I'm fasting, I don't eat anything. I get my gallon of water, and then if I'm home, then I'm getting into my mission for the day. So I've hit my physical, my spiritual, and then I'm into my mission for the day, and the rest
Yeah.
of it's generally fluid. Unless I'm deployed, and in that case, I'm kind of at the client's mercy. But I wake up, I still bang out 100 push-ups and spend my time with God every single day. You know, as best I can. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think routine and having regiments and things like that is so important. And I'm very militant when it comes to that, and people laugh at me all the time. Uh, but if I'm taking anything, one of those out of there, if it's praying, if it's meditating, if it's taking time for me before I even look at any of my phone or anything like that, I'm really affected by the day. So I have to have all those elements like you're talking about in order to be super successful for my day so I can be of service to other people. And this morning I really was like, hey, Trace, make sure that you're hitting all these elements, and even going to the gym, even though you're feeling a little bit sore, and just go in there and do it and make sure that you're praying. And today it was a little extra prayer, just, thanking God and giving back gratitude. And then I realized how much more I set myself
Yeah.
up for a better day. Cause I was just like exchanging energy different with people. And I was like, wow, this is what I've been missing the last couple of days. And it really
Yeah.
shows. So I'm glad
No,
you brought
100%.
that up.
I mean, it's just the best way to live. You're filling and strengthening these parts of you. And then, like, I have a fasting
Yeah.
regiment as well. When I'm dealing with things that need to get crushed, or I need guidance, or my flesh is starting to get out of hand. Like, fasting is like hitting a
Mm,
spiritual uh, growth button
yeah.
when you want to do that. And so,
Right. Do you have a certain amount of time you're fasting,
so
or?
the aim is once a week, 24 hours, once a month, 72 hours. At the
Oh,
beginning of each year, I'll go at least 7 days. I've gone as long as 40 days on
40,
40
40?
on just liquids,
Oh, geez.
water, apple cider vinegar. I did the
Wow.
master cleanse for 40 days. That's what I did for that one. Um, I've gone
Okay.
2 weeks, and it depends. Like, if I'm getting wrecked in life, is what people don't realize is, you're a spirit being. Like, you're operating in multiple realms. So, like, you might be getting destroyed by something
Mhm.
that's showing up physically, but it might have a spiritual root to it, and it might have a spiritual influence to it, and you might need to deal with it, by the grace of God in the spirit. And so, sometimes I need supernatural guidance. I need God to be close to me because I don't have the answers. Sometimes I'm dealing with a fight that I don't know how to my
Yeah.
way through. So then I'll just be like, "We're done." We're fasting. God's gonna and prayer and fasting. There's nothing. That's how we use our superpowers. That's how we get the courts of heaven and the armies of heaven. We can hear
Mm,
them. You shut down all the voices of your primal nature and all the things that control you.
right.
And you say, I'm not doing this. I'm running on spirit for the next 7 days. And I'll work out every single day by the grace of God that whole time. And he sustains me. And it's like he's right here in my ear. And that's how we've broken a lot of things.
So good. So good. You gave me the fire back to challenge myself again to
Yeah.
get back into the fasting, because that was really successful for me. And I'm taking tools from everybody right now. And I love being back in action and knowing that there's such a strong force out there leading the way and being such a pioneer,
Thank you.
Byron. I believe that, you're just doing such great stuff. So
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to get
Let's
into some
go.
training with you. And I know that we're talking about that hopefully soon within the next couple months. So I want to document that and show everybody, when people are telling you you can never walk again and you'll never be the same and you can't do this and can't do that. Well, last words of wisdom. If somebody tells you you can't, what are your thoughts on that? Any words of wisdom for everybody before we
Yeah, I
leave?
mean, I just, yeah, like when people say I can't, that's what happens. God bless them. And it's usually the people that love you the most that tell you
Yeah,
can't. Even Jesus said a prophet is without glory in his own, without honor in his
true.
own home, and it's like, and so for me, you don't get to say, like, I thank you for your opinion. And I understand a lot of times you're coming from a place of love or not, but I don't get my identity is not dictated by these other people and their opinions. And so, I don't even come close to taking those things seriously. I thank them for their opinion, and I'm just like, my identity is grounded in the God of the universe who created all of these things, who says that I'm his son,
Yeah.
who says I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, and who's been with me
Right.
through absolute hell on earth, who's been with me through getting blown up multiple times, been with me through group homes when I was a little boy and needed my parents, been with me through boot camp. So if you weren't,
Mhm.
and these protocols
Yeah.
will do this to you. It's like if you weren't with me this morning at 4 a.m. when I woke up and was on the way to the gym, like you don't get to say what I'm who I am and what I do and where were
Yeah.
you when it's dealt
Yep.
with those enemies and did this and overcame this and created the event that couldn't be done
Mm,
and protected those orphans that couldn't be protected and da 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 da. So you have to realize confidence
right.
comes from experience, you guys. And so the more struggle credentials that you get and the more experiences, even something like
Mm,
fasting, which is like, oh yeah, it's a really cool discipline. Fasting, when you see yourself, when you control yourself and you go 72 hours or just one full day without eating or 72 hours without eating or
yep.
yay, I say 7 days for, this is a supernatural behavior. So now you get to look back at yourself and
Yeah.
say, I just like, and how many opportunities do we get to do supernatural things? Life's easy now. And so it's a massive confidence builder because
Hmm.
confidence comes from experience. You don't have confidence because your experience with yourself is not amazing. It's not supernatural. A lot of people, I look at them and I'm like, this is why
Yeah.
ego, inaccurate confidence can become an issue because you're created to be great, but
Yeah.
now you're running a protection strategy because you don't know anything about yourself, but you want to be what you were created to be. So I just say do something supernatural, do something hard, prove to yourself who you are by the grace of God, and if you do this, no one who wasn't there with you will be able to take it from you, you know.
Amen to that. I love it. Byron, where do we find you on social media? How can people follow you, find you, and get introduced to your courses and get into
Yeah,
the action with
absolutely.
you?
You can. I hit Instagram first, so Byron Rodgers
Okay.
underscore actual. You will have to type the whole thing in because I stay getting shadow banned. That's how you know if someone's a real one. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't getting shadow banned these days, yeah, I don't even know how.
I love it.
That's serious. Anyway, so I usually hit Instagram first, but if you type Byron
Funny.
Rodgers in, we're on all platforms. My website byronrodgers.com or byronrodgersmotivation.com. My executive protection company, bravoresearchgroup.com.
Right.
And then Protector Nation is one of my training companies. So if you type in Byron Rodgers, you'll see all the things, or follow me on IG or YouTube, and we just keep hammering.
Yeah, everybody knows who you are
Oh,
anyway,
thank you.
but we got to
Yes,
say it.
absolutely.
So I love it. A man of God, a man of protection, a man of honor, man of grace. I mean, you are a class act and you're just such a great guy. And thanks for inspiring and motivating so many people and keeping so many people safe and for doing what you're doing, putting yourself on the line. And I put a
Thank
hedge of
you.
protection around you and your family and all that you do every single day and your team. And thanks for being on here today. This is an example of living life unleashed, you guys. So Byron Rodgers, we look forward to seeing you on the next show. Hopefully you can come back
Yeah,
for
let's
part
say
2 one
when.
time.
Let's go.
Yeah,
It's an honor.
let's do it. All right. You'll see me at training soon. And thanks for being here today. God bless you. And I'm excited to see what's up next for you.
She's a warrior, a survivor, and it's all because of God. She's a teacher and a healer, and it's all because of God. She's sassy, full of fire, with a heart that's made of gold. She will help you build your body, and it's so good for your soul.